Oh, hello there! Surprise! Ow. Great start. Where the hell have I been? I don't know. I'm back. Hello. I'm still mad. That's not going to change. No. And in today's video, I am going to show you how I made my new song, Brave, which is like an ambient rock kind of song. When I made this song Brave, it was actually for a final major project that I did for this music tech course I've been doing for 2 years. My project was to compose from scratch, record with musicians, mix, maybe I didn't master in the end, but perform all of it in the end. And I didn't have to do with this song, but I did 2 other songs as well. So it was like a big project. Brave was one of those little 3 songs. And because I loved it so much, I decided to release it as a new single. And I pretty love it. It's pretty degent. So I'm going to take you to a journey from birth, from when I first composed it, to the final product. I won't go too much into detail because I can sound like a mixing engineer, but I'll show you where it has gone in the journey. So let's begin. Composing the song. It was from this book. This really cheap notebook from Wilkinson's if you live in the UK. Yes, it cost me 75 pence. So it looks kind of like this. You know, it's like all handwritten. I would do it by the piano like this if the stand was up. At first, it sounded really repetitive and boring. Like this boring. You get the idea. It sounded a bit like Massive Attack Teardrop a little bit. So the goal was to treat my piano like a vocal track, not a background instrument like all the songs I've done in the past, like Resurgence. So I've been trying to treat it like a vocal track and it's telling the story because that's the primary instrument. Then you have all the backing instruments in the background as well. So as part of research, I've been using artists like Jan Tiersen and Ludovico Rinaldi to help me how to compose a song that's not so repetitive, and I've been researching like their song structures, how they make it interesting, that sort of stuff. So while I was doing all the composing, I recorded this just on MIDI, on a MIDI keyboard in Logic. Then you can manipulate it or quantize it. Just really quick and easy kind of recorded stuff you can do. So I got the piano recording and I can hear all these instruments playing in the background, like in my head. Like what kind of vibe I was going for. It was like dark and mysterious. It was like mostly like a 1-chord song, like a C5 chord. And I was just like, ooh, I can hear this with electric guitars. I can hear that Massive Attack groovy bass vibe. And I can hear that with orchestral strings. I can hear with that rock drums. And all of that along with the piano and synth pads as well. And so as all these ideas were going through my head, this is when I went to demoing on Logic. Oh, hello there! So here we are in the demo version of Brave using Logic X, and my phone just vibrated. Shush! And it looks so basic, staring at this, God. So yeah, with demoing and that, it's not the final product, but I used to make this mistake all the time when I used to make my old songs. I would start mixing while I'm still trying to compose my song. No, don't ever do that. It would you just keep constantly mixing for like ages and ages and ages, but you're still composing the song. Start demoing first. Don't mess around with the mixing. Just get all the ideas done. Then you can move on and actually record the proper stuff later on. Let's look at the drums. So the drums, these are actually sample packs. They're really great as it is, and it had that rock vibe that I really wanted to achieve. Kick, snare, kick, snare. And you had the crash cymbals around about here. It goes back to it like that. So yeah, when I've been able to make, sort out the scratch drums, I was able to like bounce it soloed, send it to my drummer Leslie, and he'll be able to practice the rhythm and the vibe there and do that in recording day. Now the bass. I originally wanted like a sub-massive attack kind of bass, but because I had my basses, I use a virtual bass guitar, I still had that massive attack sub-bass groove to it, which I really wanted, which you can see here. See all these MIDI files goes do 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 do, and that helped seeing the MIDI notes guide my bassist Caine, like how to do the rhythm and stuff, and then Caine would physically play it like that. It's just a really low kind of ground groove. You could imagine that in the sub bass where it had to be physically performed. And this is the typical synth pad that I've used in quite a lot of my old songs, especially typically Time Will Tell at the beginning. It's just that really low kind of. You see, and that plays throughout the whole song, as well as changing chords as well. So this is the demo where it had piano, synth pad, bass and drums. Let's talk about leitmotifs and the effects and stuff, the more specific stuff. Leitmotif is what you describe as like the signature sound. So when you think of Jess, you may think of those ooh sounds, or the synth pad, or the harp flick. That's kind of like my signature sound. So let's see what we've got here. Ah, here's a good one. Spectrasonics. I love Spectrasonics Distorted Reality 2 sample sounds. I use these a lot. They're just my favourite. I use their ambience and their electronic beats, that sort of thing. So I've got that playing somewhere along with the synth pad as well. So I've got that typical Jessie synth pad here, and I've got a Spectrasonics one with here. Make that solo. So that's Spectrasonics and synth pad. So we've got them playing two together, which is lovely. And they're kind of like panned a little bit that way as well, so they're not too muddy together. But that's really lovely. Another Spectrasonics, I think I've got like a sparkly noise as well. That sparkly noise you can hear. That's from Spectrasonics as well. That you can hear that in Maybe One Day, I think, when it just calms down a bit. Now at the very beginning, I've actually got some vocal work, but it's not new. It's the same vocals from Start Again. It's the operatic woo that you've got going on. So let's just hear it. With tons of reverb. Where it says +5, it means I've harmonised it as well. So you can hear the original coming from here. Harmonizes 5+ times, so it's higher. And I use that using Logic's flex pitch. Like Melodyne, it's the same thing. So I can just grab a note like this and just move up and down. So you can just totally mess it all around. Have it all the way up, all the way down. So those two, the one with the normal and harmonised, they're pan like that way as well. Doesn't matter much about the mixing, but that's the idea I wanted. I wanted more pan to the left, more pan to the right. The harp in an arpeggiator, or as I call it, harpeggiator, playing along here. It's shorter, it's quicker. That's also from the song Start Again as well. It goes flick, and automation panning as well. Goes from very left to very right, so you can hear it like from the cross speakers. Oh, another vocal effect I forgot to show you is the breath vocal effect that I've used on my song Seraphic. lots of reverb. So all vocals. So I've got all of that going on, and it just filled up the really long intro. I just love long intros. I can't get enough of them. Now that's the leitmotif signature sound done, but these are the other effects that I wanted to show you. The piano reverse reverb effect, which is this. Just very creepy, but I know that I've used 2 different types of reverbs, and that made that all that kind of like whoosh effect there. It's got a bit tremolo as well, but I'll show you what it's like in the original before I reversed it. It's pretty cool, and there's all that. And that was that, and just reversed it. Make sure it's bounced because it makes it 10 times easier. And then you got that kind of thing effect, and that was good for the build-up for the electronic bassy bit. Electric beats, I will show you. Ah, here we are, filtered beats. I didn't compose the beats specifically for this song. It was actually on another different song that is still yet released. It's one of the new songs. I've imported it just to testing, and it sounded too good. It had to be in there, along with the drums as well, which I will play to you just really quickly. So electronic beats, that was a mixture of like Spectrasonics and other ones that I've always used like throughout my 2 albums. So I've always kept that leitmotif sound as well. It's this without the beat. It's just the drums and then the beat. So here's the next demo with the leitmotifs, effects, and the beat. Guitars, or just guitars. Originally they were really crappy downloadable guitar samples, which at the time when I was making this I had to use like downloadable like acoustic guitar and just throw in some virtual amps in them. But because I had these ideas I had to like quickly get it done. They sounded really awful at first, like really lame. And then I had my partner Darren to record the scratch guitars for me because my guitarist Annie wasn't around, and it was Easter time as well, and I can't play guitar for crap, so much better compared to these. That was for Annie, scratch tracks, my guitarist, so he knows what chords, how to play it, and what kind of sound. Strings. So they're really, really simple. This was at the time really quick to do, and it's mostly chords. So really simple. It's just one chord at the moment, then changes. It's just really plain, and funnily enough, looking at this now, I was supposed to have strings from here to here. I think I decided not to at the time because I thought the constant playing of the guitars would mess it too much. But in the end I did actually wanted the strings pretty much throughout the whole song. But yeah, from here it's just plain, boring chords, but later I did redo them. But yeah, that's pretty much it with the whole demo. But of course the piano is all the way up here. As you can see, I recorded all these in MIDI. And they're probably really quantized. Yep, very strongly quantized. Yeah, that's the Brave demo Logic session. So after I made my demo, I sent the demos to my musicians and I've sent them scratch guitars, bass and drums so they can practice at home. Now we go into the recording phase, and now we use Pro Tools to do all the recording. So we started with just tracking DI bass with my bassist Caine. So I imported the playback song without the bass and scratch bass, put in the same session and set the tempo. The scratch bass track was for like guidance, like what kind of rhythm, what kind of notes I needed, etc. There are no like amp guitars or anything involved that yet, because the point of the DI is to record it straight bass guitar jack into interface, record as much takes as you can, then later pick out the best bits in Pro Tools and the editing. And then once you've got all that settled out, then we sent it to the amps and get the amps properly recorded. I won't go too much into detail because I can sound like a mixing engineer. Piano. Well, that was my job because I'm the pianist. I recorded this on this beautiful Clavinova piano because it sounded the most natural compared to like the Logic MIDI pianos. So I recorded my piano takes at home with my audio interface, so I can send the piano to Pro Tools, which I have Pro Tools on my laptop now. I just set up the tempo and I just recorded that all at home, which was pretty easy. And there was no MIDI involved, it was all audio, all raw. I wanted that rawness into it. And also while I was recording this, I actually doubled the tempo because that made it easier for me to play it in time. Originally, I actually recorded the audio in 88.2 kilohertz sample rate. The reason why I did that in the first place, because I thought I was going to use elastic audio, quantizing, basically make the piano sound in time. The non-quantized one actually sounded 10 times better. And you think the more time the better, but no, not necessarily. Yeah, it sounded less robotic and more genuine, which I really like. After I recorded the piano, I went back to college and I had my guitarist Annie to do the DI electric guitars, which is the same treatment that we did with the bass. And we didn't use the studio, it was just guitar, jack, interface, a DAW like Pro Tools or Logic, and that's all you need. You know, the same playbacks and the scratch guitars as well. And that was fine, that was absolutely fine. Now we go to the amp recording, which was the most amazing experience, I think, in my opinion, and something I haven't really done before. So yeah, we went to a different studio at the college and set up the Pro Tools session. So I imported the official final DI bass and DI electric guitars. So for electric guitars, we used the Engel amp. Jen Majura is going to be so proud of me. Do you mind the noise? And then for the bass, we used the Ampeg amp, so that was fine. But we used the Orange Cab for electric guitars and the Mesa Boogie for the bass cab. Now the mics we use for electric guitar on the Orange Cab, we use an SM57 and an SER1 ribbon mic. And for the bass, we use the same SER1 ribbon mic and Beta 52A. Sorry, had to change SD cards if the mouse moved. Creepy. So here's a comparison from like the scratch guitar tracks and the actual amp recordings. So deject. And then finally, recording the drums, which was very challenging because it's still very new to me and involves lots of microphones. We used an E6-2 for the kick, SM57s for top and bottom snare, E6-4s for the toms, there were 3 toms, and we used the lovely, gorgeous, lush C414s for the overheads. They were so nice. So yeah, while Leslie was just practicing running through, that's at the same time we just did the gain levels because you don't want anything to peak or sound distorted or horrible.
Next one.
It was a lot of fun. It was quite nervous for me because he was in the other room and me and my bassist Caine were recording him and we were in a different room. So it's like nerve-wracking, like communicating. I was a bit like, ah! And Leslie played, you know, like a god. So it's pretty toned. So after recording several takes and picking the best ones, I gathered all the recordings from that recording week and then moved everything from Logic into the new Pro Tools session. Oh, hello there! And here we are in the big Pro Tools session. It is massive. I'm in hell. As you can see, everything's very colourful, and I'm a huge fan of colour coding. For me, I am pink, because pink is fabulous. So let's talk about the piano. Yes, so it's audio. Here's the raw recording. No MIDI involved. And it sounds a lot like this, and here's the reverb as well. It's very more natural and a bit more presence going on compared to the MIDI on Logic. So that's recorded on the Club Nova over there. Very nice. And it can be very tinny sounding, so I added like a bit of like body enhancement over here. Revival is my favourite plugin at the moment. It is just glorious. And also some EQing and stuff like that as well. And the reverb is actually a convolution reverb that I actually imported from Logic. And yeah, I've got the same reverb that I've used in Logic and previous songs. So that's also a bit of the leitmotif. I use this specific reverb as well. It's really big, very ethereal. So I like that a lot. The strings, I actually redid the strings on Logic, but I've used two different types of strings. And I also recomposed them with violin, viola, cello, and bass. And I used a tool called Expression, so I was able to control like how loud and how quiet I want the strings to be in the notes. Sounds nice with the piano. So I'm really happy with that. And the drums, this took the most work. Phase and timing issues, especially phase, I can't stress enough. What I tend to do is to make sure all, like the kick, the snare and the hi-hat, everything that matches towards the overheads, because it depends how far away the mic is with the overheads. It's very complicated, techie stuff. The snare top and bottom, for an example. If you zoom in over here, what I've done, that actually look like they're in phase, but that's because I inverted it before. But usually this waveform at the bottom will be at the top, and this would be at the bottom, and that means they're out of phase, and that makes the snare sound really like empty and there's no power. And once you actually fix the phase, you get so much power because the waves are playing with each other. For the toms, I strip silenced them because see, these are all the toms. A bit here, and a bit here. If you did not strip silence them, you get like all this horrible background noise going on. It's just unwanted noise. It's not needed in the mix. My battery died on me, which is why things probably have moved. Another thing that helped is gating on just kick and snare. Okay, so we've got the snare, and there's like no background noise whatsoever. But if I actually bypass these, oh my gosh, there's so much background noise. It's clean. And the same with the kick as well. It doesn't need that much gating on the kick. Yeah, you can hear all that cymbal going on in the background. You can hear. If I put gate on, it's a lot cleaner. So these are what the drums sound all together. There's quite a lot of reverb because I wanted that big like rock drum room going on, and from such a small dry room it sounds like huge. And another thing that's helped is samples. I actually took that same drum sample pack which I used in the Logic demo, got a kick sample here and I got snare samples here, so it gives that subtle little difference. This snare's a little bit more body. Ran out CPU. That's funny.
Oh, this song is gonna be so good. Here comes the drums. Oh!
Oh, the horror of the CPU. Don't remind me again. Yeah, nothing wrong with samples. If they need a little boost, get a little boost. But yeah, the reverb, without it, it sounds like this. Now it sounds like it's in a small room. And with the reverb, I've actually added a couple of other things as well. Added like a slam and a parallel compression that just makes things really just overly compressed, because parallel compression is like a lot of compression going on. But okay. This is parallel compression. It's like really snappy, and slam's similar thing as well. It's really mighty, so do little bits of it and they just make a little bit of difference to it. But yeah, the reverb, it's just a large room reverb, really plain and simple. I know you're probably wondering, what is this blue section over here? This is actually the big bridge from a different recording section. And yeah, this was from a completely different day, completely different session, but it had the right amount of the crashiness that I needed for the big chorus, the big bridge. Even though it's different snare rhythm and everything like that, I made sure that I manipulated it as much as I could to get it the same rhythm. In fact, let me show you the session. Okay, so this is the drums from the other session, and this is what it originally sounds like. Completely different rhythm and completely different tempo as well. The other time I need to figure out how do I get it in the same rhythm and swap them around, which as you can see there's so many of those split transients going on. As you can see, just comparing, I'll take a photo if you can't really see it. It shows on top the rhythm I wanted, and this is the actual rhythm in the bottom, and how I'm going to swap these around, and basically the result came out like this. It's the same rhythm from Brave, and then this is what it originally sounded like. And the hi-hat that was going on, it just didn't suit really well. Once I did all that effort, all that swapping around and bounce all the stems, it came out fab. The bass, as you can see, I included the DI and the Beta 52A and the rhythm. And I really wanted the bit of the high pickup as well, even though I want it to be subby, but that high pickup, high frequency actually encouraged the guitars to sound quite good as well. And so here's the groove, which Caine performed brilliantly. I wouldn't be able to do that myself. In the end, I did actually include a sub bass. So these bits are muted, and here's the sub bass over here. So this is the only MIDI involved in Pro Tools. Yeah, because originally I was having a bass being performed, physically performed, I thought I'd use that breakdown as a good opportunity. It's really subby. I mean, I don't even have a sub box. I don't know if you can hear. But that's at like the electric beats, like breakdown sort of thing, and then it just comes back in the bridge with normal bass. Okay, guitars. This was really a challenge. Look, there's 4 tracks in guitars. So here's the left and here's the right. But this is what it sounds like. And I did have a reference track. I wanted that Evanescence Going Under. So let me show you what I was referencing. So I'm here and opening the actual stems of Going Under that I have in Org Vorbis files. It's very gritty, and I had to like really listen with my ears, reference tracks, and I used crazy amount of EQ. It's actually ridiculous. I've used like 3 EQs and this is without any. So that's the amp recordings on its own. Then added 3 different EQs. It's not that far off, but that is what I really wanted. And let's put it in with a bass as well. Throwing the drums, why don't you? If it was a proper rock song, it would sound like that. No piano, synths or anything like that, just pure djent. So there you go. That's the Pro Tools session. Oh, you know, and after a bit of mixing and mastering, but yeah, that's the Pro Tools session. Then we have the final product. Yay! Then I send it to Apple Music, iTunes, Spotify, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, it was finished on Pro Tools, and let me show you that I am officially Avid certified Pro Tools user. This is like my best achievement ever. I'm so proud. We'll put you here. So yeah, during the 2 years I've been studying, learning about Pro Tools. I've got one of the books here actually. This was one of them. Pro Tools! Yay! And after doing 2 years of the music tech course, the final grade I got was a distinction.
Hey!
So I'm a very happy bunny. And believe it or not, that means I have actually done college for 6 years. 4 years of graphic design and 2 years of music tech. And I have finished for good. I cannot believe it. So what am I gonna do now? I'm taking a year gap and focus on making my 3rd album. Oh my gosh. I am scared. So hopefully, new music coming soon. But anyway, thank you for watching this video. I hope I didn't bore you to bits. You can check out the song Brave in the description, or you can find it on YouTube. There is a end annotation in the end of this video. But I also uploaded a piano and string live performance of the song, which I also put in the end annotation. But you can find the song on iTunes, Apple Music, Spotify, Deezer if you want, but it's on my YouTube channel as well, so you can check it out. Thank you guys for watching, and rock on.